Well, hey everybody. I'm back to talk a little bit more about the situation over here in the village of Kalkaska. I was in to see the chief of police for the village of Kalkaska yesterday. Well, actually, I was hoping to see the chief. I was talking with one of the officers, and then the chief interjected, and he just oh, he only wanted to give me 30 seconds, and then he wanted to twist my words, and then all he wanted to do was argue about things that I wasn't there to argue about and tell me I'm just there to argue. And he's got no authority, he's got no jurisdiction, and there's no corruption happening in in the village of Kalkaska. Now you can go back and listen to that first video from yesterday. I'm going to play a short clip here. Here we go.
Why are you not allowing me to say what I need to
We
say?
have no authority over what your complaint is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We have no authority over this at all. It's not in our authority in any way. So it's
When
not
you
gonna
have
any-
when you have corruption happening in your
it's not
jurisdiction,
happening in our jurisdiction.
No corruption happening in his jurisdiction. He won't let me explain the corruption that happened in his jurisdiction that still continues on to this day. He's not going to let me talk about it. And it's just bringing back more and more of the details, some of them that just hadn't been right up here on the top of my mind. Some of them kind of like just put away, almost forgotten about. And then something like this happens and it just starts bringing some of them memories back. So one important point to this is that it was the people who did the voter initiative to legalize marijuana in Michigan. It was the people that wanted this. It was the people who did it. And then the authorities and the courts, they just started playing all kinds of shenanigans. Back in the day, somebody with a medical marijuana card would get hassled by the tyrants, arrested, put through the court system, and the judges were issuing gag orders. You could not defend your client. The client could not defend himself. The accused could not defend himself by saying, I have a medical marijuana card. The jury was not allowed to know that the defendant had a medical marijuana card. There's no end. There's no end to the bullshit and the corruption that has gone on over marijuana. Now, that voter initiative, how do I want to say this? It was not recognized by the authorities, not recognized by the courts to allow dispensaries or concentrates. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, concentrates, absolutely not. And, there's several states that have medical marijuana won't allow a concentrate. Or at least there were. I imagine they still are. Now, what was Ethan doing? Ethan was making concentrates. Ethan had built equipment for processing concentrates. I was recovering my solvent. That solvent's expensive. If you don't recover it, it just evaporates off into the environment. So it would seem like it's better for the environment if you contain it, reclaim it, and reuse it. It's better for your pocketbook if you do that. Those 50-gallon drums of 99% isopropyl alcohol don't come cheap. They come a lot cheaper than a 5-gallon bucket. So you see, the Traverse Narcotics team, the Michigan State Police, and the Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department conspired after going to the court to get permission to come and raid me for marijuana at a time when concentrates were being prosecuted in the courts as not being a part of medical marijuana. What did they do? They took my 3 machines that Sergeant King with the Michigan State Police, the leader of Traverse Narcotics team, was very interested in. Oh, he was so interested in that equipment. So interested to know where I got my knowledge. Ordered his team to remove that equipment from the trailer. 30-foot triple axle, fully enclosed trailer. Walk in. They took my equipment out of the trailer and carried it over and gently set it down outside my domicile. At a time when concentrates were not recognized as part of medical marijuana. Then their evidence is submitted to the court for prosecution, submitted to the prosecuting attorney for prosecution in the courts. But the prosecuting attorney and the judge do not want to hear about gum tissue rejuvenation with cannabis. They do not want to hear about calcified plaque removal from cannabis. They don't want to hear about the prevention of gum tissue loss, the prevention of calcified plaques that cause harm, that cause tooth decay, that create a breeding ground for the bacteria that excretes those acidics that eat away at the enamel on your teeth. Judge don't want to hear about it. Prosecuting attorney don't want to hear about it. My defense attorney won't talk about it. I'm told to shut up. Conspiracy that happened in the village of Kalkaska, in the courts, in the prosecutor's office, in the sheriff's department, in the village of Kalkaska. Chief. The chief says there is no corruption in his village. He has no jurisdiction over what I'm complaining about. He didn't even listen to me. I wasn't there to complain. I was there to explain. I was there to demand. Oh, you're just here to argue and complain. I don't know what you think, he says to me. Yeah, of course you don't know what I think because you won't let me get the words out. You won't let me get the words out because you know it's all being recorded and you don't want it to be recorded. You don't want it to be known in your presence that you know. So you are culpable, sir. You are now part of the cover-up. You are now part of the corruption officially, on video, on audio. Right there in your facility. Now, the equipment that I made, it fit on top of a rice cooker. And did some modifications to a tea kettle. Cut the bottom off of it, put a rubber seal on the bottom of it, cut out the pour spout, and welded on a stainless steel exhaust pipe. After it made the bend down, it got reduced to fit a copper line with a friction fit that then wound around the stand and down into a jar. And it had a nice little handle on the top of that tea kettle that folded over. So when you were done evaporating and now you're ready to deal with the oil, well, you just pop that copper line off, just lift that kettle off, pretty as you please. In the process, while we're cooking off the solvent and needing to continually be adding solvent because it'd be working from a 5-gallon bucket in a little, I don't know, quart size, 2-quart size pan. So we got to keep adding to it. Well, a tea kettle has this nice little top that pops off. And when you got the tea kettle with the handle on top that folds off to the side, well, that's beautiful. You just lift that little cap off, get your funnel, get your small bucket, and add. So now this equipment was perfectly lawful for me to have, perfectly legal for me to have as paraphernalia. But concentrates, and what that equipment was designed for was concentrates, was not legal at all. Concentrates were not part of medical marijuana, according to the authorities. And they were here to raid me for marijuana. So why would they take that equipment and leave it here with me? It's because shops were setting back up. There were a lot of raids happening here in northern Michigan, and shops were setting back up in operation while they were in court. They expected me to do the same thing. I'm sure of it. And then they were going to come back and say, oh, look how much bigger you are. You didn't learn nothing, did you? Well, I took the stands, I took the copper wire or the copper tubing and pitched it. But the tops, they were custom. That took some work. That took some time. Not easy to duplicate, especially if you don't have access to a fabricator. So I put them in 5-gallon buckets and I buried them. And they've been buried since 2015. But now I have a small crop. I've got a few plants out there that I'm expecting I'm going to get a harvest from. And then I intend to make some mouth rinse. And then I'm going to be dealing with solvent that I'm going to have to evaporate off that I want to reclaim. Now I'm going to have to spend some money. I'm going to need some 5-gallon buckets. I'm going to need a little bit of plywood. I'm going to need some copper tubing. That's all doable. I can just go into the store. I just need the money for it. But to fabricate those tops, that's something else. I got my glasses here. I don't have to run get them. Gulf Patrol. Of you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you. Maybe if you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you. Who's better, Grand Funk Railroad, the Amboy Dukes, or the Stooges? All depends on your taste, right? So at any rate, Kalkaska County Sheriff's Department deputies and the Michigan State Police, Traverse Narcotics team, got permission from the court to raid me for marijuana. They had been surveilling me for marijuana. And when they came here to raid me, They took bucket after bucket after bucket of marijuana insolvent out of the trailer and left it with me. They took my cookers, my evaporators, my custom made equipment out of the trailer and left it with me. Hooked that 30-foot fully enclosed triple axle trailer up to a truck and seized it. When concentrates were not part of medical marijuana, according to the authorities. But there's no corruption in the village of Kalkaska. In that court building, in that prosecutor's office, in that sheriff's department, in the village of Kalkaska, there's no corruption. There's no conspiracy. There's no hiding the facts. The prosecutor doesn't lie. Of course he does. He did repeatedly to me. So now, Chief, you, sir, got yourself a pocket full of liability. Everything's changing. Day's coming. Men are going to stand up. They are. I know they are. They just haven't been pushed as hard. A lot of them haven't been pushed as hard as I've been pushed. But the pressure's building up on everybody right now. Sometimes it's best to avoid the local police. Fly under the radar. Don't invite them into your life. Well, I've been attacked from all levels of government. I never had any interaction with the chief of police here in Kalkaska. Kalkaska is known as the cannabis capital of Michigan. There are so many pot shops and marijuana, so many grow facilities and processing facilities in the village of Kalkaska. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Now, the suppression that's brought down on me is coming from the highest levels. I have the evidence of the National Institute of Health ignoring my information and funding $1.8 billion to rejuvenate gum tissue, but they did it under the false title of revolutionizing the root canal because they didn't want to get my attention. The same month, they authorized that funding of $1.8 billion. Ethan was arrested and charged with many felony charges. Just months after the prosecuting attorney said, Ethan, there will be no charges. If you want to come back to Michigan, it's safe for you. Where's one cannabis attorney the world over who will take my case? Doesn't exist. The bar has put the word out. The upper levels of government have put the word out. All right, government stopped, shut down international banking when the Canadian Jamaicans wanted to work with me. After they committed to me, they had something like $16 million in private investment money, and the United States government shuts down their bank. Caused a delay for me to get to Jamaica for almost a year. And when I got there, they had nothing but problems from the licensing authority. Gee, I wonder why. Could it be because Ethan was there? Kind of looks that way. And the list goes on and on and on and on. But this is about the village. This video is about the village of Kalkaska. The chief of police, who now has officially made himself culpable, officially made himself liable. And it's captured on audio video. So you know who you're dealing with, you know what you're dealing with, that's important. Spread the truth. Who's going to stand with me? Who will come over here and be witness to me digging up this equipment? Who? Where's one man that'll stand with me that has any kind of authority in medicine, in law, in politics, influence, a celebrity, somebody with a big reach? Where's one? Where's one bar attorney going to bring my cases forward? Hey, what do I see here? Oh, that was a nothing. That was a flash from PayPal. I thought maybe somebody sent me a donation. Oh, I could sure use a couple of donations. Well, with just PayPal telling me I can apply for a business loan. Got me a little excited there for a minute. Electric bills coming up. Internet bills coming up. Bill for the website. Man, I'm just scraping by. They're coming after my property now because I can't pay the taxes. I can't get a job. I can't open up my business. I cannot open up my business. I have no funding for it. If I had funding for it, the entire system is stacked against me. I can't get hired by anybody. They're all afraid to have any association with me because they don't want to be targeted by government. So I'm really relying on those donations. One day I'm going to turn it all around. One day I'm going to be a very wealthy man. Again, wealthier than I ever dreamed about. Wealthier than I ever wanted. More money than I want to have to be concerned about. That's a fact. Because what I have is so stinking valuable. But at the moment, it's not producing its value. It's causing pain and suffering, misery, torment, torture. And Chief of Police over there in the village of Kalkaska, you're part of it now. But I'm gonna dig those tops up. I am. I'm hoping I can get somebody to come over here and hold the camera for me. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to go out there and put a stake in the ground, tape the phone to the stake, move it around, get the angle right, and then I'll go out there and do it. But I'm gonna dig them up. And they're one of a kind. Each one's individual, independent. You can't buy them. But who wants to hear this? Not the judge, not the sheriff, not the chief of police, not the governor, not State Representative Dar Rendon or Jack Bergman or Gary Peters. No. No. They don't want to hear it. They want to do nothing to help. The UP may be a better place to be, and the prices are reasonable. Better place to be for what? I'm looking for one constitutional sheriff to call me up and say, hey, come set up business in my county. I'll keep these parasites off your back, boy. We're a constitutional county. We believe in freedom. We believe in liberty. We believe in truth. We believe in God. Ain't happened. I'm still waiting. All right, everybody. I love you. Own your authority. I'll be back later.